Hello everyone, I'm Elena and this is Applewood Tarot. This is a VR to Mystic Man and her tag, Let's Go Shopping. The premise is to choose decks that suit various shops visited during an imaginary shopping trip. It's a cute tag that gets me out of the imaginary house for a little bit. The first stop is the bakery, where I can fuel up for the day. It calls for a deck that's warm, cozy, and familiar. I've chosen Wild Woman Oracle. This was difficult, because what I find familiar is not often warm and cozy. But this deck does give me a sense of comfort. It feels like a sisterhood. It features goddesses, characters from stories, and everyday women. This deck was inspired by the book Women Who Run with the Wolves, which I love. I had pleasantly unusual dreams while reading it for the first time, and it helped me to gain a new perspective when interpreting fairy tales. I may be wrong, but I wonder if the color scheme of this deck is based on a specific edition of that book. It has a relaxed potency to it. I don't know if that comes from its theme, its inspiration, or the fact that each card is set at night. That was Wild Woman Oracle. The next stop is dessert at the candy shop. I need a deck that has bright colors and is sweet and fun. My choice is Storyboard Tarot. I decided to prioritize sweetness and fun over bright colors, like I do with sweets. This deck has serious moments, but its overall vibe is happy and bright. I don't often like modern decks. I own very few. But every now and then, I'm in the mood to step into a slice of life manga like this. It's upfront without being shallow, and just so pretty. I love the fashion. It's amazing how the deck manages to tell such rich stories in a single card. These really do feel like moments from a drama series, and it's easy to build scenarios around them. It may also be a good beginner deck because of how it draws attention to the more relevant symbols. Breaking the image up into frames allows for more linear thinking. It's sort of like how you look at a spread as a whole, but in small scale. I doubt I'll want more modern decks anytime soon, as this satisfies that part of me so well. That's the mark of a good deck. There are also various anime and manga decks that I've considered but passed on. That's another category I no longer crave since I have this deck. If I were to get another one in this style, its subject matter would have to be something special. As far as slice of life stories go, this one does it for me. It's so good. That's a really good tower. The characters are also very clear. I was surprised at how easily I understood them, as I'm better at reading situations than people. That was Storyboard Tarot. Now to the Florist, where I'm to pick up a green or herbal deck. So here is Children of Ostara Tarot. This is my only plant deck. I like plants, but can't grow them. I've only managed to keep a certain type of ivy and lucky bamboo alive. Which is sad because I would love to be able to grow at least my favorite flower or kitchen herbs. Those are supposed to be easy. This deck is beautiful and surprisingly easy to read considering I'm not overly familiar with the subject matter. I find I'm not attracted to plant decks either, though I've seen some pretty ones. Maybe someday I'll discover the one plant deck for me, but for now, this is enough. Though I consider Children of Ostara to be plant spirits, so it's closer to a fairy deck in my head. Maybe that's why I can read it okay. I just realized I'm a liar. I own the Tarot of Trees. Though some people don't categorize trees as plants, so does it count? This deck is quiet, but by no means silent. It feels present, without needing to tell anyone it's there. It's like being around plants. They can shift the vibe of a place without saying a word. That's one of my favorite Knight of Pentacles. I don't know why. The Emperor and Hierophant are also very good in this deck. Zia likes to draw them intense. I don't know how some people can go for extended periods of time without greenery in their general vicinity. Science shows humans actually start to go insane without regular exposure to nature this way. That explains a lot about the state of the world. Think of that the next time someone says, "Go touch grass." It actually will improve your mental state. That was Children of Ostara Tarot. Next is the pet shop. It's time for an animal or nature-based deck. To accompany what I got from the florist, I've chosen Children of Letha. Trigger warning for blood in this one, if that's something that bothers you. This was the first in the Children of series, and I love it. I have no idea what Zia Hunt will do for the rest of the Sabbats, but I look forward to it. And as of now, I do intend to get the rest of those decks as they come out. That says a lot for me, because I'm not one to buy things I'm not really into just to have a whole set. I have only the Samhain deck from Seasons of the Witch, because that's the one I fell in love with. But these are golden. I am very much an animal person, but I have only one animal deck besides this one. No, two. But the third is just cats. I've bought only the ones that really speak to me. They can't just be pretty. Otherwise, I would either own way too many decks or be permanently stuck trying to decide which to buy. I'm beginning to notice I'm quite picky. Which is a good thing. No one should consume blindly. This one has stunning majors. So gorgeous. It may not be true, but I feel like a lot of people have difficulty understanding animal decks in general. This is odd to me. If a person likes animals enough to buy a deck where they're the focus, wouldn't that person know enough about them to make their own connections? Unless it's an objectively bad deck, which then, why buy it? But I'll refrain from ranting. I love that hermit. And Empress. It also may be hypocritical of me, as I just admitted I'm not into plant decks and yet own two. But I'm selective about it. I don't buy a bunch and hope one will stick. That was Children of Letha Tarot. Next is the antique shop, where I get the deck I have the most history with, good or bad. Here is Shadowscapes Tarot. This was my very first deck, and we've always had a good relationship. I spent a long time looking and waiting for what I wanted to be my deck. I'll keep my reasons private, but this is what I chose for myself, and I've never regretted it. I know there's that belief, I don't know how popular it still is, that you're supposed to be gifted your first deck. I can see that being a tradition in a magical family, but if you're the first into this, or among folk who don't know it interests you, I don't see why it should apply. I bought my first deck, and the majority of the others I own. There is no difference in how well they read compared to the ones that were gifts. Clearly, the tarot gods did not think it worth smiting me over. So if it's something you're passionate about, it's fine to buy it for yourself. That being said, be honest with yourself and respect the practice. Don't continue to buy decks if you don't intend to use them, or use them only once in a blue moon. I feel that's basic consumer knowledge, but too many people need to be reminded of this. But I'll stop ranting now. I've seen that this creator has a new deck coming out around September. From what I've seen, it's beautiful, and I was tempted. But it's close enough to this one that I'll pass on it. However, for those who prefer animals over fae, but still want this art style or vibe, you may want to check it out. If I was a different kind of person, I would love to have all three of her decks. I chose to pass on Tree Keepers too. Not because they're no good. Again, I'm just picky. Though I don't know what could surpass this crazy beautiful thing. That was Shadowscapes Tarot. Now for the art gallery. I'm to find a deck with my favorite art style. This was so hard to choose, but I went with Faeries Oracle. This is my favorite, because no matter what, I'll always be in the mood to see this art. It's more than beautiful to me. It feels like truth and home. I can't say I've been there, but I know this place in my bones. This is what I meant earlier when I said what's familiar to me isn't usually warm and cozy. There's danger in this place, but I know it, and I'm at home here. This was my second deck ever. I got it and Heart of Faerie from a used bookstore many years ago now. They weren't expensive, but money was tight at the time. I'm so grateful to my now husband, who told me we'll get them both. I'd seen them online and fallen in love. It was very lucky to find them the first time we wandered into a store new to us. I have zero complaints about this deck. It is absolute perfection. I don't mind the font, or the cardstock, or how weathered it is. This is true of all of my decks, but I admit I have a unique fondness for Frouds. I also have several of his books. All of those, and any future decks he makes, within reason, I want to own. I can't find anything else to say about this deck, because it speaks for itself. That was Fairy's Oracle. Near the end of my outing, I rest my legs while at the hair salon. Here, I find a deck that wants me to be my best self, or is the most beautiful. All of my decks want the best for me, and beauty is so subjective that this was a difficult choice to make. I eventually settled on Tarot of Persephone's Garden. I may be wrong, but I get the impression that people of this era, at least those making and commissioning paintings, felt very strongly about beauty as a concept. Beauty was more than something pretty to look at. It was a virtue. This is why fairy tales, those put to paper around this time especially, emphasized the heroine's beauty and her oppressor's ugliness. It wasn't that good looks made you a good person, it was the other way around. This is the first edition of this deck, by the way. The newer one has different backs, a different box, and several changes in the paintings chosen for the cards. You can look up side-by-side comparisons if you want to see that in detail. I do like some of the changes made, but overall I like this one better. It's my Gemma Doyle deck. If you know, you know. This is another that doesn't need to be spoken on at length. Just look at it and take it in. That was Tarot of Persephone's Garden. The last stop is the toy shop, where I choose what I want to play with or use next. This is Fairy Tale Oracle. I have a moon practice that involves my oracle decks, and this is the one I'll use for that next. It's fitting because this practice also involves fairy tales. The images are adorable and do add something to my interpretations, but I mostly take from my understanding of the tale. It can also take a while for the deeper message to hit, so I make sure to take the time to really mull it over instead of rushing for a quick answer. That may be user error and mean that I'm just not so good with this deck, but I still enjoy working with it. I really like both this artist and writer. I have the magical fairy tales book that they made together. But so far, I'm very satisfied with this deck. I don't feel an itch to get another one by either of them. I'm sure they're good, but this is enough for me. It feels almost like bibliomancy, as if I'm turning the pages of a childhood storybook. It has that thick, glossy finish that's similar to kids' books. I do highly recommend Lucy Cavendish's work. There was a line that stuck with me. It was something akin to, "Fairy tales teach us how to survive our families." That was Fairy Tale Oracle. It was the last one. I'm done with my errands and shopping for the day, and now return to my cottage in the woods. Thank you for joining me on my outing. I hope you are mindful about what you chose to pick up for yourself, if anything. Be sure to visit Mystic Mand, who started this tag and got me hungry thinking about yummy foods. See you next time.